day 3 of our Calmsutra journey together. We'll be talking about one more topic on anxiety and going to figure out how to deal with the challenge at hand, especially in the uncertain times. Hi, everybody who is joining in third time. Thank you so much for being so patient. I believe my volume is better. The voice is not cracking, and fingers crossed, thank God it is not. Finally, we can get to the conversation and talk about things that we require to talk about. Perfect. Okay. So, today's topic is about changing your perception about things, changing your perspective about things, and so many times the idea of feeling trapped, feeling anxious, feeling lost comes because we have a particular idea, our opinion, our specific behavior that gets to us. And absolutely that when that happens, we feel paralyzed, we feel that my thing is not working, my life is not working, my areas where I had certain dreams and expectations are unfulfilled, and now the game is over. Now we don't say things like my game is over, we keep fighting, we keep figuring our ways around it, but that's the truth. At some part, we feel so disappointed, we feel so lost, and we feel so angry with the outcomes that we refuse to change things internally. Now, what we're going to do is I want you to look at this. I know these are not newer games, but it is important that we understand perspective in this style. Tell me what you see. Can everybody see the image? What do you see here when you look at this? I would like you to type the response because it is important that we would have different understanding of this image. Okay, somebody said they can see a duck, somebody can see a bird, people can see a rabbit. What do you think? A bird with big mouth, okay, rabbit, duck. So is there any right answer to this one? Maria says rabbit and a duck. Agreed. But that's the game. In one perspective, you can find a duck, and another perspective, you can find a rabbit. If I tilt it, it's clearly a rabbit. Okay, one more. What do you see now? Everybody, I'm just keeping it up so that it won't get disrupted by the image. What do you see now? Some people are saying they can see two faces. If I cover these faces, what do you see in the middle? Can you see this beautiful formation as something? Now, I know these are optical illusion games, and some people could see two faces, some people could see the beautiful formation in between. Now, what are we doing here? We are absolutely looking at this. The whole idea of this game is to see that the truth might not be the ultimate idea. The truth is always your perception of the truth. And we forget about this. We say, oh no, but if I saw it, it must be true. If I looked at it, that is the way it should be. If I believe that the towels must be kept in a particular manner, that's how it should happen. If I believe financial decision must happen with these 3 areas kept in mind, you cannot be arguing it and changing it. It must be done like that because that is the right thing to do. The whole conflict between right and wrong is not the ultimate truth that we are talking about. The conflict between right and wrong arises from the fact that one person's opinion can go against another person's opinion. You're like, yeah, easier said than done. But if I want my life to happen in a particular manner, Aditi, that's what I want. And that's how I will be happy. I will feel fulfilled. I will feel I can move forward in life. The thought is taken, but not completely. Because if you are the protagonist, the hero or the heroine of your movie, then when you look at your life, everything happens from your angle. You're like, I am the hero and the camera is following me. The narrative is built around my life. Everybody is working towards making sure that my story moves forward. For your spouse, for your father, for your boss, for your colleague, they are the hero or heroines of their story. When they look at you, you're just a side character. And they are the protagonists. They are the main characters who are at the center of their storyline. We forget about it. When we get married, when we get into close relationships, when we start working with people, we believe because I'm the boss, everything should happen as per my life story or my ideology. Yes, you might be a leader and that's an amazing idea, but life and differences and people and all the anxiety issues that we speak about, most of the time they arise because of differences in ways in which we look at things. Some people saw a rabbit for sure, and some people saw a duck for sure. Now it wasn't like you said, oh, but you are right and I am wrong. No, it's not true. It's not about who's right, who's wrong. It's just who is looking at that thing from which angle. And if we forget that it is a matter of angle, it's a matter of perspectives, then we keep holding on to our ideas. Most of our anxieties come because we believe life must happen in this particular manner. And I'm not saying you're right or wrong. All I'm asking is, can we today take a moment to check on our own perspective? Can we ask ourselves this question, that whatever I'm thinking is my opinion at the end of the day. If I understand that it is my opinion, then I won't inflict that opinion upon other people. I won't make my opinion a final verdict for everybody around me to agree with. I would say, okay, this is how I would like things to happen, and other person may or may not agree with it. Or this is how the other person might want things to happen, but I may or may not agree with it. The very moment we remove the seriousness, the ultimate truth aspect of our opinion, things become easier. And that is where you can start seeing at other person's idea with little more empathy in it, with little more compassion in it, without making it a war. You know, so many people, when I looked at your handwriting sample, so coming to the handwriting sample point finally, we are collecting these samples because I want to study what challenges you're going through. I'm not giving feedback to anybody on the basis of these samples, but collectively, when I have all the samples and when we review it as a team together, I would see some common patterns. It happens in every corporate assignment that we do. Now, when I know exactly where your shoes are hurting, we will create the content accordingly. So if you haven't sent your handwriting sample, this is the time to do it. Please go ahead and share your sample in a given format on the email. To receive feedback on your S-stroke practice, make your S-stroke practice on the page, take a picture, make a small video, whatever you like, and tag that particular photo in a story or a post so that we can share the feedback in our stories. So follow the procedure, simple one. It is important for you to do that so that we can give you feedback. In doing incorrect stroke is not healthy, it's not helpful, it won't show us the kind of results we want to see. Okay. Now, the exact email, we have only one email ID. It is write, WRITE, at aditisurana.com. You follow all the instructions there. Coming back to the perspective building concept. Now, when we have certain perspectives and we are fighting other people, when we are fighting other situations and we are telling people that what you're doing is incorrect, and when we hold that idea as a strongest point of view, strongest final verdict, we only create chemicals in our bodies which would allow us to feel completely lost, which would allow us to feel disappointed in most things, right? In the lockdown, what is getting to people is they cannot do what they wanted to do or what they generally do, or what we did before 2020 happened. Now all these ideas, all these things are our challenging areas because we are still holding on to the idea of how things should be. The very moment you ask yourself that, okay, if I look at this as my perspective and if I don't force myself and don't force other people to align and don't expect the environment to align with me, what is in my hand right now? What is in my control right now? So the perspective game is important. What I want you to do today is pick up one area where you disagree with someone. and disagree, like genuinely disagree, things that you feel you cannot compromise. How can you expect me to do this? This is absolutely not okay. I'll give you an example. My father disagreed with my choice of graphology. And when I was 17 and a half, we got into this argument or disagreement. And he said, if you want to do something like this, like graphology can't be a career, you can leave my house. Now, interesting as it was, I was filled with passion and my ideas of my career were very clear. I left my home. And for 6 years after that, we did not speak with one another because both of us were very clear about our disagreements on my career choice. Now, here is the point. This is where I'm saying that strong area you pick up and look at things. Now, one is the choice of career, which is understandable, where you may have, or we could have had differences. But in no time, both of us, not only him, both of us turned into my daughter is wrong and my father is wrong. So when we have disagreement with people, unknowingly we start making those people wrong. And once you make the person wrong, it is very difficult for you to come back, to shift, to alter that strong idea and allow the person to be kind to you, allow the person to be loving to you, allow the person all the liberties which are available in other roles. So my father was a great father, but he didn't agree with my career. But when I was upset with him, I labeled my father in ways where I thought he is not concerned, he is not caring, blah, 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 like so many labels, all those labels were not true. The strong-headedness was true, but when you label somebody for being wrong, you label all the things and you take away the good parts of the person. You take away the amazing ideas that the person is delivering upon for many, 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 many months, years, in many, many different ways, because of one or two or three perspectives not matching. And when you color somebody in that light, what happens? We all start looking at that thing from our tinted glasses, and then we do not see the white wall for being white. When you wear like red glasses, it looks pink. When you wear blue glasses, it looks sky blue. It always gives that layer on the whole picture. But what colored your glasses? Only one difference of opinion, only one perspective being different, and we throw the entire person out. Now, I want you to think about it. I always say that the conversations that we have on this platform are very reflective. So I will every day ask you to think about 21 different areas where you would be creating your anxiety loops. And I believe you are powerful enough to break your anxiety loop. And how do you do that? By taking one area, like really dismantling your thinking process and thinking about different aspects and altering it. Now, somebody's asking, but what if they are doing kind of things to manipulate? Even if people are trying to manipulate you, even if they are trying to force their ideas on you, whether to get manipulated or not is your choice. But stopping them from manipulating and saying that you cannot manipulate, and you being a manipulative person, it's absolutely wrong, and I'm gonna label you as that wrong person, is a choice that you're making, which will take away almost every relationship away from you. I agree. If you do not want to be manipulated in their game, don't say no, stick to it and pay the price of it. But we expect other people to stop manipulating for our life to be easier. Now, I do not know the situation, so I would not give you the exact answer here, saying that what they are doing, but how they are doing. But for example, just to take my story, and as I'm openly talking about it, when my father said that if you don't want to agree with me, the doors are open for you to leave, and very dramatically, I always narrated like a filmy story, like nikal jao mere ghar se types. But when he did that, where was he coming from? That was a manipulation of force, or giving you no choice but to agree or comply so that you follow what I want you to follow. Now, the idea of doing that was to protect me. So it wasn't like to throw me out of the house. That wasn't his intent, but genuinely to protect me from making this horrible choice, which he thought was horrible according to him. But when you pause and when you say, okay, I do not want to give in to this so-called manipulation, and I'm willing to pay the price of the decision I'm making, the game changes. then you are responsible for your choices and thereby the consequences of it. But most of the time we pass the buck on the other person. We expect them to do things and not make our life uncomfortable. Now, my friend, if you really believe in what you really want to do, what will make you happy and what will bring your calmness as the ultimate idea, the peace of mind that people talk about, then you will have to work towards it. If you want a great body and if you want all the aspects of health, we work towards it. If you want great financial well-being, we work towards it. It doesn't happen one fine day. It is built over a period of time. So the very moment you say, you take this responsibility in your hands and you say, okay, I'm going to work towards it because it matters to me, the game will be different. So please understand, these are not only the game, I'm not only doing like this wordplay of perspective or showing you these images and in images it's simple, Aditi, but how about people? They come up with so much of baggage and they have so much, like drama happening, blah, all of that. I agree, I completely agree with you. But when we are gifted with the family and the people around us in the way, and I'm using the word gifted very consciously, what do? We literally take them as the team players to build our life with, and if we choose to walk away from that game, there's a price to pay. If we choose to keep these people active and change in the manner to still build your life, you will be able to build a newer life. Now, many of you might have heard this about this person, Dr. Wayne Dyer. I had a privilege of meeting him many years ago, and he spoke about this one line that stayed with me, and it is so powerful. He said, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at start changing. Let me repeat this. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at start changing. Now, for example, if you're looking at a child, you're like, oh yeah, somebody's child, okay, so cute, so nice, like you just play with the child for 5 minutes. The very moment you are the mother and you're looking at the same child, you have the whole emotional connection and nothing can go wrong with your child, and you would do everything in your capacity to take care of the child. There's like this non-verbal idea that is going on. So it's not only about the child, it's not about the thing, it's about you. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at start changing. Like your child won't respond to any woman or any person the way he or she would respond to you because of the connection that they feel. Now, when you look at people from these judgmental, how could you do this, eyes, they also feel the barriers, the judgment, the angry, rage, all of that, they experience it. And they put their foot forward and then they start fighting. The very moment you understand that, okay, what if I understand your perspective, and what if I alter the way I look at things and not become judgmental necessarily, what would that change for me? And when you make that change, when you make that shift and look at the person, you won't have the equal amount of righteousness, anger, resentment, all of that. By the way, if you're feeling resentful about other people behaving in the manner they behave, it only happens when their behavior stops you from doing what you want to do. If you take responsibility of doing what you really want to do, what matters to you, your journey with yourself, then you won't have that similar emotion with other people. So if you are genuinely resentful in a relationship and you're like, this person just gets to me and brings the worst out of me, if that is happening to you, take a moment and ask yourself, where are you not doing what you want to do without this person's consent or approval, or like why it matters that this person should be on board with what I'm doing. If I'm doing what matters to me, how I want to build things and how I want to take the journey ahead, and if you continue to do that, your resentment won't be as high as it is right now. So please understand, we cannot give all the credit to other people, is all I'm saying. Okay, so the question today is, think about this one area where you have extreme disagreement with somebody. You're like, oh, but that person doesn't get me and that gets to me. If it is making you feel anxious, worked up, stressed, whatever, like those, all the emotions that we are talking about. So think of that event, think of that one perspective, and now ask yourself, if I try to understand that person's perspective, like literally, if I try to understand that person's perspective in this situation, what would be my opinion? What would be my judgment? What would be my response to the situation? If I alter my standpoint right now, and if I understand that person's perspective, what would be my response to the situation? And I don't want you to go and respond in that manner immediately. I just want you to do this as your journaling game. So think of that disagreement and ask yourself, okay, I see my disagreement there. I see what's going on here. I know that this is getting under my skin. Now, anything that gets under your skin will affect you. Anything that doesn't allow you to be yourself and be comfortable and calm within will affect you. So just imagine if you're popping things, when you're eating things that are not suitable for your body. Imagine like you're allergic to something. And if you keep eating that, if you're allergic to capsicum, and if you keep eating capsicum every day and somebody is feeding you capsicum, they're keeping it on your table, on your plate, and you're like, oh my God, one more capsicum. But you don't want to take efforts to go to the kitchen and cook what you really can eat. But you're like, oh my God, why this person is giving me capsicum? And you eat it, and then you have the reaction, and you're like, why do I have to go through this? Why do I have these reactions? Because of this person. And we stay in that loop of so-called comfort zone of being uncomfortable. If your life really matters to you, if what you do and how you do it is of utmost importance to you, then my friend, it is something that we really have to work towards. So Aditi is saying, you mean there is extreme disagreement, then leaving is okay? Aditi, whether to leave or not leave depends on the situation. I feel before you go and exercise the final decision of leaving, make sure that you have understood other person's perspective. You have turned all the possible stones here before you jump off to the conclusion that, oh my God, I have to leave. Whether to leave or not, like if I would have had the tools I have today when I was 17 and a half, I don't think I would have left my home. But because I lack the tools, and that's why I'm so committed to come up with tools for all of you to figure out your whole relationship complexities, because leaving, once you use that door, it's very difficult to go back emotionally, mentally, and in so many ways. And I lost amazing 6 years of growing up and sharing my journey and my achievements with my father, and one of my favorite people in the world. That was because I didn't have the tools to explain my perspective to him, or I became judgmental and I couldn't break the wall, blah, blah, blah. But I believe when we create the tools, the journeys become different. When we create the game in a manner that you can understand other person's perspective, and if you're willing to do what is required, the game is very different. Okay, so okay guys, can you hear me? If you can hear me, give me a thumbs up so I'll continue talking. People are saying there is no video or no audio. I can see all of you live. Can you guys hear me? Okay, you can. Perfect. So I'm going to switch the camera. With that question, we're going to get into doing the graphotherapy. Make sure that you have a ruled notebook or a printout of this page and a ballpoint pen. When we do this practice, I will be talking, but technically when you do the practice, you're not supposed to talk. I do it like, like an instructor, like a yoga instructor can be in the most difficult phase and can still talk and give us instructions. Similarly, I can still do it with practice, but also because I'm your teacher, right? I'm like instructing how to go about it. When you do it, I want you to focus on the stroke formation and the breathing formation. 2 things. So the breathing has to be slightly longer than normal, and 4 other things to keep in mind. If you're new to the stroke, when you register, we'll send you the explanation video. So watch that video carefully, follow every single instruction mentioned there, and that's the idea. Now give me a moment as I switch the camera. I hope it is good and close enough for all of you to look at this. Here we go. So all you got to do is breathe slightly deeper than normal, and we will walk into the stroke. We'll start doing the stroke. Get your notepad, be calmer in your mind, just like let's set with that intent. And you're like, but Aditi, there are so many thoughts which are making me crazy. There is so much happening here. Of course, there is so much. Response to the same situation. Okay, just keep that thought. Do not respond to that thought. Do not respond to the question. Step 2 of our journey is walking into the S stroke practice and doing the S stroke. And we begin now. Do this practice together. Even if you feel like what is happening, if you're new here, why this stroke? All the questions can be answered later. Right now, the focus will be on the stroke formation and on your breath. And that's it. When we do this stroke, we actually want to connect to the breath and do not try to stop your thinking, because that's not the objective. Let your brain go wherever it wants to go. Let your mind go wherever it wants to go. With one of the thoughts, it would come back and you will continue doing the practice. Your job as a student, your job as the practitioner of this Calmsutra stroke is to just let your body create these patterns. And when you do that, breathe slightly longer than normal. One of the thoughts will be to pay attention. One of the thoughts will be to pay attention on the stroke. Now I know you can see some portion of the page, but I wanted to make sure that you get a closer look to the stroke and the formation of it. Some people are trying to make the stroke really, really long. It doesn't matter. Wherever your hand stops, you will stop the stroke. It is not about how long the formation is. It's about how involved and engaged you are with the stroke. Have you heard of this Japanese tea making ritual? It is simply making tea, but as it is a ritual, people are completely involved and engaged in the process. That's what we want to create through the stroke. The stroke formation looks simpler, but when you start engaging to the simple process of following all the instructions and doing it in the manner you must, that creates the impact we want to create. If you're rushing through the process to finish the page, when you start breathing deeper, you won't be able to rush as much. That's the trick. Now I'm going to switch the camera